We have an 80% chance of a recession. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's check out this article from ABC discussing the RBA and predictions of an 80% chance of a recession, or a recession risk, to get inflation under control. Now, here's the thing, guys. I know we all completely trust the RBA because of their fantastic record of making forecasts and predictions. Yeah, neither do I. And that's probably why we all locked in our interest rates under 2% when they said rates wouldn't increase until 2024. But even if we do have a recession, that's not the end of the world. The sky isn't falling down. I think the biggest risk with a recession is government interventions in the economy to try and mitigate the recession, doing more damage than the recession would. I mean, just look at all of the interventions in the housing market during the last time and how, well, it overheated the whole sector, housing ballooned to the moon, and now we have a bunch of builders going under. Awesome. So let's check this one out. RBA research finds Australia has up to an 80% recession risk to get inflation under control. So, previously unpublished internal research from the RBA estimates that Australia's risk of recession over this year and next could be as high as 80%. Now, this has a feel, it reminds me of when we were reading articles about the RBA modelling a 40% property fall. They were just running worst case scenarios to look at the implication on the banking sector, but the media went with it. I went with it. We saw it. We were reading it. Oh no, what's going on? But you've got to remember, guys, put your cynical old man glasses on, because this is just also about getting attention. So we'll have to see, if this is a 5% risk of this occurring compared to other risks. So the research released as a result of a Freedom of Information request includes modelling from a senior analyst in the RBA's Economic Analysis Department. The economic modelling conducted in September 22 and based on the bank's economic forecast from August 22. This should all be available publicly. This shouldn't be freedom of information, should it? But anyway, considers the risk of recession as the RBA raised interest rates at the fastest pace in recent history. Under the SARM rule, which defines a recession as when the quarterly average of the unemployment rate rises by at least 0.7% above its minimum over the previous 12 months, the senior analyst said some models put the risk of recession at 65% or more over the next 2 years. Well, this is the first time I've heard this definition of a recession. My understanding was that it was 2 quarters of negative growth. Let me just bring up my data source manager here, and where is it? Do we have it here? No, where has it gone? Anyway, there we go. Yep, this is what my understanding was. A period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP in 2 successive quarters. This is from the Oxford Languages definition. So, well, here's a new one, I guess. Estimates suggest the probability of recession over the next 2 years could be as high as 80%, the note said. Could be as high as this. This is the thing, guys. This is just modeling. So what you feed into the model impacts the outcomes of the model. And there's a whole lot of variables that we don't know what they will be. And there could be a whole lot of unknowns. And this is why we've seen economic modeling be incorrect again and again and again. This is no different to a lot of the environmental modeling that people are using. And this is also these are the models that are being used to determine the economic impact of environmental changes, which are used to justify government interventions. Isn't it awesome when you become a cynical old bastard? It really is. If a recession does occur, it is most likely sometime over the next 4 quarters. This is in line with intensifying market commentary predicting recession in the first half of 2023. Using a different type of model reduced the recession risk. There you go. Depends on the modeling that was used. Why don't we have access to the modeling? Why can't we download all of that from the Reserve Bank's website, get in the Excel files or whatever? They can give us the data in a method that the public can consume. Why not? Why do we need freedom of information requests? this stuff, guys? You tell me while I have some coffee. So, blah, 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 but still found the odds of Australia remaining on the narrow path talked about by RBA Governor Philip Lowe of getting inflation back below 3% without a major economic contraction at little better than 50-50. Oh, there you go. The likelihood of ending up on the narrow path is around 1 in 2, the senior analyst noted. Yeah, but none of them will have to worry. They'll all still be employed, even if they get it completely wrong. I guess that's the lesson from all of this, guys. You need to make sure you're earning your income in a part of the economy that's recession-proof. Allowing policy to respond increases this probability modestly, both because policymakers can tighten more aggressively to combat inflation and because they can cut rates to avoid a recession when required. This research also offers some insight as to why the Reserve Bank may have eased off on its monetary policy tightening from 0.5 percentage point increases from June to September to 0.25% of a point rise in October. At the same time, the RBA has been willing to tolerate inflation sitting just above its 2 to 3% target to the end of its 2-year forecast horizon. Around 70% of all simulations where inflation returns to just above the target band by the end of the horizon do not involve a recession, the modelling predicted. The proportion with inflation getting inside the band without a recession is notably lower at around 55%. This might go towards explaining why Mr. Lowe and the RBA board have generally been resisting calls to get inflation back within the band faster. Mr. Lowe has repeatedly said that to get inflation down more quickly would cost tens and probably hundreds of thousands of jobs, that he believes this trade-off is not worth it. Some of the simulations with inflation returning to target involve significant increases in the unemployment rate, the September research noted. The upper bound of the 75% interval peaks are between 4.5 and 5% across both simulations. Under the Taylor rule, the worst outcome has the unemployment rate 2 percentage points higher than in the central forecast. This suggests that returning inflation to target could involve significant job losses even when monetary policy responds to development. The analysis noted that the odds of an Australian recession were considerably reduced if the US economy remained out of recession, while a severe US downturn made a local recession much more likely. So the RBA models a 4.8% cash rate, so about a 1% increase from what we have now, guys. Get ready for that on your mortgages. It may horrify some borrowers to know the RBA's Economic Analysis Department modelled a cash rate peak of 4.8% as recently as February ahead of the March board meeting. It also modelled the likely effects on inflation and unemployment of keeping the cash rate on hold at 3.35%, as it was at the time, and of a peak just under 4%, roughly where the cash rate is now at 3.85. Obviously, the RBA board rejected the front-loaded scenario, which would have had the cash rate at 4.8% by now. All cash rate paths bring inflation within the target band at the end of the SMP, the Statement on Monetary Policy. The forecast by mid-2025, the February research note predicted. The steady climb and front-loaded paths are the quickest to return inflation to the target band in late 24. These paths also push the unemployment rate up to the assumed NAIRU of 4.5%, narrowly avoiding the SAM recession. The lower cash rate peaks also see unemployment eventually rise to 4.5%, but it takes a year longer to happen, meaning more people stay in work for an extended period. Given that the most recent statement on monetary policy does not have inflation coming back within target band until June 25, and the unemployment rate only reaches 4.5% by June 25, it seems likely that the RBA is currently expected to remain patient and unlikely to raise rates much further to get inflation down faster. And the ABC are asking for cost of living questions. Well, guys, let's have a bit of a talk about this one. What do you reckon? everyone. I mean, the issue is there's so many unknowns that can happen over this period of time. All of the modeling can be thrown out the window. I think you need to look out for yourself and ensure that your own financial situation is in a position where you can weather a recession. Plan for the worst case scenario. That only makes sense. Don't borrow too much. Remember, the debtor is slave to the lender. Don't go into debt if you can. Try and get multiple income streams and live a frugal life. But then again, that's all just normal advice, isn't it? We'll have to see what happens. What's concerning is that freedom of information requests are necessary to get this information. It should be publicly available. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Check out HeiseBIM and Heise Does. I promise I'll have some content going up on Heise Does shortly. And if you're a fan and want to support us, you can on YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy our pocket squares, or call us if you need an architect. Take care. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.